Hello guys on Voice of Betrayal, where every lie has a voice. They say some moments change everything, but you don't always know which ones until you look back. It was 2011, and I was a sophomore in college, just trying to make a little extra money DJing campus events. I wasn't great at mixing tracks or reading a crowd, but that night, I felt like I nailed it. It was a chill Friday mixer, nothing too wild. I had a few playlists lined up: 90s alt-rock, early 2000s indie stuff, nostalgic crowd pleasers. I queued up Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind, and that's when I saw her. She was standing near the refreshment table with a plastic cup of something pink in her hand, swaying to the beat. When the chorus hit, she lit up, mouthing the words like she'd sung them 100 times in her room. After the song ended, she walked right up to my booth and smiled. "You're the first DJ here who's played something I actually like," she said. Third Eye Blind. Seriously? Yeah, I grinned. They don't get nearly enough love. That's how it started. Music, specifically our music, became the thread that would weave us together for years to come. We talked for hours after the event ended. She sat on the edge of the stage while I packed up my gear. We talked about everything: our majors, our families, how college felt like this weird in-between space where no one really knew what the hell they were doing. And every so often, we'd bring it back to songs, bands we loved, albums we obsessed over. Third Eye Blind was our band. Not just a band we both liked. Ours. Every couple has one, you know. That one band that captures something unspoken between you. For us, it was them. We started dating not long after. Slowly at first: coffee dates, long walks after class, lazy weekends watching movies. She made everything feel easier. Warmer. I wasn't the most open person back then, but with her, I didn't feel like I had to pretend. In 2013, 2 years into our relationship, I proposed. It wasn't some big elaborate gesture. Just the two of us on a weekend trip. We'd taken a drive up the coast, windows down, music up. That night, we sat on the hood of the car watching the stars. I pulled out the ring, hands shaking like hell, and she said yes before I could even finish my sentence. We blasted Third Eye Blind on the way back to the hotel, screaming every word out the windows like a couple of teenagers. That moment stayed with me. It was pure. Undiluted. The kind of memory you hold onto when everything else gets blurry. We got married later that year. It was small, intimate, just close friends and family. She walked down the aisle to an acoustic version of How's It Going to Be. Everyone thought it was a weird choice for a wedding song. But for us, it made sense. That song was about longing, about change. It felt honest. Not every love story is a fairy tale. Ours felt real. The next 9 years were complicated. But in the beginning, it was beautiful. Every year on our anniversary, we tried to see Third Eye Blind live. It became our tradition. 9 shows in 9 years. Each concert was like a renewal of vows, another chapter added to our shared story. We'd dance, sing, and afterward, we'd lie in hotel beds exhausted, happy, in love. Or so I thought. There's a kind of peace that comes with the early days of love. It's not loud or dramatic, not like in the movies. It's quiet, warm, and steady. It's the way time stretches when you're lying next to someone, doing nothing, but somehow doing everything. That's what it felt like with her. After that night at the school event, our relationship grew like ivy, slowly, persistently, wrapping itself around every corner of my life. At first, we texted constantly. It was innocent stuff: jokes, music recommendations, little observations from our day. I remember she once sent me a photo of her coffee with the caption, "This latte is better foam art than I have self-esteem." I laughed way too hard at that. We went on our first real date at a local diner just off campus. Nothing fancy. Pancakes and eggs, 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. We were both broke college students. But even then, she made it feel like we were the only 2 people in the world. I still remember the way she played with her spoon while talking, tracing the edge of her plate as she told me stories from her childhood, the weird ones, the sad ones, the ones she hadn't told anyone in a long time. She trusted me, and I felt myself wanting to earn that trust, every single day. We were opposites in all the ways that made it interesting. She was spontaneous, passionate, always chasing the next laugh, the next thrill. I was more grounded, careful, methodical, a planner. But somehow, that balance just worked. She pulled me out of my shell. I kept her anchored. Or at least, I tried to. By the time senior year rolled around, we were practically living together. She had a drawer at my place, then a toothbrush, then a key. It wasn't official, but it didn't have to be. Home became wherever we were together. I proposed in the fall of 2013. She'd just finished a stressful summer internship, and I had a small bonus from a part-time campus job. I didn't have much, but I wanted to make it special. I booked a weekend away, a cabin on the coast. Just us, no phones, no distractions. We drove there with the windows down, the ocean in the distance, Third Eye Blind playing on loop like the soundtrack of our story. There was one moment, I remember it clearly, when she reached over and laced her fingers through mine, and I glanced over to see her with her eyes closed, mouthing the lyrics to Motorcycle Drive-By. Her hair was a mess from the wind, her smile barely there but completely content. I don't think I've ever loved someone more than I did in that second. That night, we sat on the hood of the car outside the cabin, wrapped in blankets, the stars spilling across the sky. I didn't even have a speech prepared. I just looked at her and said, I don't want to imagine any version of my life where you're not in it. She blinked, and then she laughed, the soft kind of laugh people make when they're overwhelmed, and said, Is this really happening? I nodded. She said yes. And just like that, we stepped into the next chapter of our lives. We didn't have a big wedding. Neither of us wanted one. We wanted meaning, not spectacle. It was in her parents' backyard, white folding chairs, homemade food, and a Bluetooth speaker playing a playlist we made ourselves. Friends brought cupcakes. My cousin did the photography. Her sister officiated. When she walked down the aisle, she wore a soft, flowing dress that looked more like something you'd wear to the beach than a wedding. And yet, she looked like something sacred. Like the kind of beautiful that feels effortless, the kind that doesn't even know it's beautiful. We chose How's It Going to Be for her entrance song. It was unconventional, a bit melancholic, even. But it was our favorite, and we didn't care. Love, for us, was never about perfection. It was about honesty, about accepting the bittersweet along with the sweet. That song said, even if this changes, even if it ends, we were here, and it was real. That was our vow, even if we didn't know it then. After we got married, life settled into a rhythm. It wasn't always exciting, but it felt safe. We both started working, she in marketing, me in tech support. Weekdays blurred together in a haze of commutes, takeout dinners, and Netflix series. But once a year, we came alive again. Third Eye Blind tours became our ritual. Every fall, around our anniversary, we'd buy tickets, no matter where they were playing. Sometimes we drove to other cities. Sometimes we flew. Once, we even camped out for 2 nights to get front row spots at a music festival. 9 shows in 9 years. Each concert was like a time machine. No matter how busy or disconnected we might have felt during the year, no matter how many fights we'd had or how long we'd gone without really talking, something about those nights brought us back. The music. The memories. The electricity in the air. It was like hitting reset. After the show, we'd always book a hotel, just the 2 of us, away from responsibilities. We'd laugh. Drink. Make love. Talk about nothing and everything. And the next morning, we'd wake up tangled in each other, feeling, just for a moment, like we were still those 2 kids on the hood of the car under the stars. Of course, not everything was perfect. There were arguments. Disappointments. Stress. Long nights where we slept back to back, pretending to be asleep because it was easier than talking. There were days when she seemed distant, distracted. I chalked it up to work, to burnout, to life just being hard. But deep down, I think I always knew something had shifted. The way she stopped writing me cards. She used to write these long, handwritten notes on every birthday, anniversary, and holiday. Heartfelt stuff. Things that made me feel seen. Over the years, those stopped. First it was shorter notes. Then just store-bought cards with a scribbled, "Love you." I tried not to let it bother me. I figured maybe she was just tired. We all get tired. What I didn't realize, or maybe refuse to admit, was that we weren't just growing older. We were growing apart. They don't tell you this when you get married, but love doesn't disappear all at once. It fades. Quietly. Like a song that slowly gets drowned out by static. At first, you don't notice it. You just assume you're tired. That things will get better once the weekend comes, or the holidays, or after the next big project at work is finished. You tell yourself this is normal. Every couple hits rough patches. But deep down, something starts to ache. Not loudly. Just, persistently. For us, the first real sign came in our 5th year of marriage. It wasn't a dramatic fight or a betrayal, not yet. It was something more subtle. A silence that settled between us where conversations used to live. A kind of emotional distance that started growing in the space where our connection used to be. We still went on our anniversary trip that year. Still saw Third Eye Blind. Still danced, drank, laughed with strangers in the crowd. But the next morning, something was different. I remember lying in bed with her and realizing we hadn't touched each other at all after the show. No kisses. No intimacy. Just exhaustion, physical and emotional. She turned her back to me and fell asleep almost instantly. I stayed awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering what had changed. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to ruin the trip. Over the next year, the tension began to mount in small, imperceptible ways. She'd stay late at work more often. Started taking solo trips with her friends, something she hadn't done much before. And when I asked about them, she got defensive, like I was being controlling. I wasn't. I trusted her. At least. I wanted to. It was around this time that she stopped sharing the little things with me. Before, she used to tell me everything, dumb memes she saw online, awkward encounters with coworkers, dreams she had the night before. But those updates grew shorter. Then less frequent. Then non-existent. I felt like a roommate. A background character in my own marriage. One night, I asked her if she was happy. She paused, just a second too long, and said, "Of course. Why wouldn't I be?" I didn't press. But something inside me folded. It was a Wednesday. I remember because I had just come home early from work. I had a terrible headache, and all I wanted was to lie down. I walked in through the front door, and her laptop was open on the dining table. She wasn't home. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear to God, I wasn't. But something popped up on the screen. A message. From a guy I didn't recognize. It wasn't graphic, just flirty. Too flirty. The kind of message you don't send if your marriage is solid. My hands started shaking. I clicked the thread. There were weeks of conversations. Inside jokes. Pet names. One message, just one, that confirmed everything I feared. It said, "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." I closed the laptop. When she came home that night, I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or accuse. I just watched her. Studied the way she kissed me hello without blinking. The way she talked about her day like nothing was wrong. It was surreal, like watching someone impersonate your wife. Later that week, I asked her, calmly, if there was anything she wanted to tell me. She froze. Then she denied. Cried. Said it was a mistake. That it only happened once. That it didn't mean anything. That she was drunk. That she was lonely. That she still loved me. She said all the things people say when they're caught. And me. I forgave her. We went to therapy. We set boundaries. She promised it would never happen again. She said she wanted to rebuild. She cried a lot. She said all the right words, and for a while, I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to believe. I told myself people make mistakes. That I'd made a vow, in sickness and in health, through better and worse. That this was just the worst part. For a while, things got better. She tried harder. Paid more attention. Bought me little gifts. Planned dates again. I saw glimpses of the woman I fell in love with. And I clung to them. But it never felt the same. The crack was still there. It had been patched, sure, but it ran deep. And the longer I stared at it, the more I wondered whether it had ever really gone away. They say once trust is broken, it's never quite whole again. I didn't want to believe that. But 2 years later, I found another message. Different men. Same pattern. Same excuses. Same cycle. This time, I wasn't shocked. That was the part that hurt most. I wasn't even angry. Just numb. We didn't go to therapy after that. She cried again. Promised again. But I didn't make promises back. I stayed, out of inertia more than conviction. Out of fear, maybe. Of starting over. Of failing. Of being alone. We still went to concerts. Still took trips. Still smiled for photos. But the truth was, we were just actors now, playing the roles of husband and wife. I started counting the months until our 10th anniversary, the last show I had planned. The big one. The 10-year concert. A decade of music, memories, and now, betrayal. I didn't know it yet, but that show, that 10th concert, would be the night everything finally broke beyond repair. The 10th concert was supposed to be a celebration. 10 years of marriage. 10 shows together. I'd planned it months in advance, bought tickets early, reserved a boutique hotel just walking distance from the venue, picked a restaurant she loved for dinner beforehand. It wasn't just a concert anymore. It was us. Our ritual. Our reset. I had imagined every detail. She would walk into the hotel room after the show, her hair still damp with sweat from dancing, her eyes glowing under the hallway light. We'd laugh, make love, and fall asleep in each other's arms, the band's lyrics echoing in our ears. I had even planned to give her a letter, a tradition from our early years, one I had revived just for this night. It was tucked in my coat pocket. 3 pages, handwritten. I never gave it to her. It started like any other Friday. I came home early from work, excited, nervous, even. She was upstairs, getting ready. I heard the blow dryer, the low hum of a Spotify playlist through the bathroom door. When she came downstairs, she looked stunning. Not just beautiful, intentional. Like she had planned every detail. Her makeup was flawless. Her dress was new. She never wore heels to concerts, but tonight, she did. I smiled at her like a man seeing his wife for the first time again. And then her phone lit up. It was on the counter. Just sitting there. Face up. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even looking. But I saw it. A message. From a name I didn't recognize. Just a first name and a wink emoji. And then the words that knocked the air out of my lungs. Did you get the condoms? LOL. I didn't say anything. I didn't scream or confront her. I didn't throw the phone or demand answers. I just froze. My hands went cold. My chest tightened. Everything around me, the music, her voice, the hum of the lights, turned into static. She didn't notice my face. She was still brushing her hair in the hallway mirror, humming softly. I walked outside. Quietly. Slowly. Got in the car. Started driving to the show. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. Hey, where are you? I answered calmly. Oh, you know. Just heading to the concert. A pause. What? Why? What's going on? I exhaled, slowly. My voice was steady. Think long and hard about why I might be acting this way. I hung up. I think I was in shock. That's the only explanation. There was no breakdown. No tears. Just this strange sense of dissociation, like I was watching it all unfold from outside myself. My heart wasn't broken. Not yet. My body wouldn't let it be. I parked the car, walked through the crowd, and handed the ticket to the guy at the gate. He scanned it. Then looked at me. There's 2, he said, waiting for the second ticket. I stared at him. Deadpan. Yes, I said quietly. There's 2. He didn't press. I walked inside. The show. The venue was electric. People swarming, drinks flowing, voices buzzing with anticipation. I stood alone, surrounded by couples laughing, friends hugging, strangers swaying to the pre-show playlist. And then the lights dimmed. Third Eye Blind took the stage. The first chord rang out, and the crowd erupted. I should have felt something, nostalgia, maybe, or sorrow. But instead, I felt alive. More than I had in months. Maybe years. I screamed. I sang. I danced. I let the noise drown me. No one could hear me cry over the roar of the guitar. Some lyrics hit different now. I've never been so alone. And I've never felt more alive. That line stuck with me. Over and over. I've never felt more alive. Because in that moment, I realized, I wasn't dead inside. Not yet. She hadn't killed that part of me. And I wouldn't let her. The empty hotel room. After the show, I didn't go to the bar. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just walked the few blocks to the hotel I had booked for the two of us. Room 412. It still smelled new. 2 robes hanging on the door. 2 glasses by the sink. 1 king bed, untouched. I took off my jacket, pulled out the letter I had written for her, and set it on the nightstand without reading it. I didn't cry. I turned off the lights. And I slept, alone. The morning after. I woke up to 32 unread emails. From her. Some were short. One-liners. Others were paragraphs. She had stayed up all night, spiraling, guilt, bargaining, rage, shame, confusion. It was all there. Some messages begged me to come home. Others lashed out, "You had no right to go through my phone." The most surreal part was when she sent me scanned copies of cards I had written her over the years. Anniversary cards. Birthday letters. Christmas messages. Little pieces of my heart, sent back to me like receipts. She thought they would soften me. Make me remember how much I loved her. They did the opposite. They made me realize how little she loved me now. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't just about the cheating. It was the choice. She had chosen someone else, again, knowing what it would do to me. She'd seen the hurt in my eyes once before. She'd heard the silence in our bed. She'd seen me try. Work. Rebuild. And she chose to break it anyway. I sat in the hotel chair for hours that morning, watching the city wake up below. Horns blaring. People rushing to work. Life moving forward, indifferent to my heartbreak. I didn't know what I'd do next. But I knew one thing for sure. I was done. Grief doesn't always come loud. Sometimes, it creeps in like fog, soft, shapeless, hard to name. That morning in the hotel room, I didn't cry. I didn't scream or smash anything. I just sat. 4 hours. Dressed in the same clothes from the night before. Staring at the unread emails blinking on my screen. Her words stacked on top of each other like a digital panic attack. I read every one. Some were apologetic. Some were pleading. Some angry. In one, she called me immature for leaving. In another, she told me she had made a mistake, but not a marriage-ending mistake. That one made me laugh, but not the kind of laugh that means anything good. More like air escaping a punctured tire. I stared at her words, and I felt hollow. Like the men she was writing to didn't exist anymore. The lie of the second chance. People love to talk about forgiveness. They say it's noble. That it takes strength to forgive. That we all mess up and deserve second chances. But here's what no one tells you. Second chances are a gamble. And every time you give one, you're betting a little piece of your soul on the hope that the person who hurt you won't hurt you again. I'd already made that bet. Once. I'd stood by her. Believed her tears. Held her while she broke down. Said things like, "We can fix this," and "Let's start over." I put in the work. I buried my pain deep enough that she could no longer see it. And for a while, we looked like a couple who had survived something. But we hadn't survived anything. We delayed the crash. And now here I was, alone in a hotel room I'd booked for two, with no one but my own reflection in the dark window and a playlist I couldn't bring myself to hit play on. I drove home the next afternoon. Quiet roads. Overcast sky. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't want to hear anything. Not even Third Eye Blind. Especially not Third Eye Blind. When I pulled into our driveway, her car wasn't there. Inside, everything looked the same: couch, pillows, framed photos. Like nothing had happened. That's the thing about heartbreak. It doesn't ruin the world around you. It ruins the world inside you. I walked through the house slowly. Our house. Every room carried an echo. Her laughter in the kitchen. Her perfume in the bathroom. Her socks still in the laundry basket. Her half-used moisturizer by the sink. I sat on the edge of our bed and tried to remember the last time we'd slept together without tension between us. I couldn't. She came back late that evening. Walked in like someone expecting a fight, but hoping for mercy. Her eyes were puffy. She had changed clothes. No makeup now. Just the raw version of her. The version I used to love most. She stood in the doorway of our bedroom like a ghost. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. "Please." So I nodded. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. The same couch where we used to cuddle under blankets, binge-watching stupid crime shows and eating microwave popcorn. She started talking. Long, rambling, broken sentences. About how lonely she'd been. How she felt like I had stopped seeing her. How the emotional distance between us had made her feel unloved. Invisible. I listened. And for a moment, I believed her. Not because her reasons made sense, they didn't. But because I could see she was scared. Genuinely scared. Of losing me. Of starting over. Of being the villain. But that's the thing, she already was. She had written that role herself. In her texts. In her choices. In every lie told between the first time and the last. And now she wanted to rewrite the ending. But I didn't have it in me to play my part anymore. She pulled out the cards I had written over the years. Sat them on the coffee table one by one like they were evidence. "Look how much we've loved each other," she said. I nodded. "Yeah," I said softly. "Look how much I've loved you." That silence said everything. She didn't get it. Or maybe she did, and just couldn't face it. Those cards didn't feel romantic anymore. They felt tragic. Artifacts of a version of us that no longer existed. Letters from a man who had believed in something that turned out to be a lie. "You still love me," she whispered. I looked her in the eyes. "I don't even know who you are." I slept on the couch that night. Not because I was angry, but because I was done pretending. Done lying to myself. Done trying to fall asleep beside someone I didn't trust. She cried behind the bedroom door. I heard her. But I didn't go to her. Not this time. In the morning, I told her we needed space. Real space. "Are you leaving me?" she asked, tears welling again. "No," I said. "You left me a long time ago. I'm just finally catching up." She didn't respond. She just stood there, stunned, as if she'd been slapped. And maybe, in a way, she had. But not by me. By reality. The days that followed were quiet in the way that funerals are quiet. Still. Heavy. The kind of silence you don't break, because doing so would make everything too real. She stayed with her sister for a few days. Said it would give us time to think. As if time had ever fixed anything broken between us. As if thinking had saved us from anything we already knew in our bones. The first morning without her, I made coffee out of habit, 2 mugs. Hers sat untouched on the kitchen counter until it went cold. It was stupid. I knew she wasn't there. But I still poured it anyway. My body was used to doing things for her, around her, with her. Now it didn't know what to do with itself. The house felt like a stranger. Her shoes still by the door. Her coat on the rack. But no footsteps. No noise. Just the low hum of the fridge and the quiet reminder that everything had changed. She emailed me constantly. Not just texts this time. Full paragraphs. Long, breathless blocks of words pouring out every version of her side of the story. The first one started with, "Please don't give up on us." Then came, "I know I've made mistakes, but they don't define me." Then, "I felt like I had disappeared in our marriage. He made me feel seen." It wasn't about sex. It was about feeling alive again. And finally, "I can't believe you're just walking away after everything we've been through." Each one hit differently. Some made me angry. Some made me laugh. Others made me feel like I'd swallowed stones. But what struck me most wasn't what she said. It was how much of it was about her. Her pain. Her needs. Her guilt. Her fear. There was barely a line in any of them about me, what she had done to me, what it felt like to sit alone in a hotel room on what was supposed to be our anniversary, reading proof that the woman I loved had given herself to someone else. I wasn't a person in her story anymore. I was a problem. An obstacle to her narrative of redemption. One afternoon, she sent me scanned copies of every card I'd ever written her. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Holidays. There were dozens. Some were a few lines. Others pages long. I'd forgotten how open I used to be. How much I gave her in words. I was never good at grand romantic gestures, but when I loved her out loud. She sent them to remind me. But all they did was haunt me. Because I realized something terrible as I read them. She stopped writing back years ago. Somewhere along the way, she stopped responding to my love with her own. She stopped matching my efforts. Stopped meeting me halfway. And I didn't even notice. Or maybe I did, but I made excuses for it. Told myself, this is just what long-term love looks like. But that wasn't it. It wasn't the love that faded. It was her. Grief is strange when the person you're mourning is still alive. You see their face in photos. Hear their voice in old voicemails. You scroll through memories like crime scenes, wondering where the break began. I started going back through our pictures, the ones on my phone, on the cloud, on old hard drives. I watched us age in snapshots. Her laugh at a beach. Us holding concert wristbands. Her asleep on my shoulder on a plane. It was like watching someone disappear in slow motion. The woman I married, she was gone long before the affair. The girl who danced barefoot in our kitchen. Who left lipstick notes on the mirror when I had hard days. Who sang off-key in the car and made up fake lyrics just to make me laugh. Gone. What was left was a stranger who kept my last name and wore my wedding ring but loved someone else behind my back. And I kept trying to reach her through memory. Like a man screaming at a ghost. One night I had a dream. We were standing in front of each other, at a concert. The band was playing Deep Inside of You. She looked at me and smiled, that real smile, the old one. The one she hadn't used in years. And in the dream, she reached for my hand. But when our fingers touched, her face changed. It wasn't her anymore. It was someone else. Someone I didn't know. And I woke up with tears in my eyes and her name on my lips. But it didn't mean anything. Because even in sleep, my mind was telling me. She's not coming back. Not really. Not as the person I loved. It took me weeks to understand what I was feeling. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was grief for a version of my life that would never exist now. The 10th concert was supposed to be a full circle. A decade of love, tied with a bow. Instead, it became the moment I truly saw her. Not the version she wanted me to believe in. Not the version I had built in my head. But the truth. And the truth was this. You can't keep loving someone who doesn't respect you. No matter how long you've been together. No matter how many songs you've sung. No matter how many times you've forgiven them. Some people don't change. They just get better at hiding who they've become. They say every man has a moment where he meets himself in the mirror, not the version he pretends to be, not the version the world expects, but the raw, stripped-down truth of who he is when no one else is watching. That moment came for me on a random Tuesday night. I was brushing my teeth. Same routine. Same bathroom. Same mirror. But I didn't recognize the man looking back at me. He looked tired. Not just physically, soul tired. Hollow eyes. Jaw clenched. A face shaped by silence and compromise. And for the first time in months, I didn't ask, how do I fix this? I asked, why am I still here? There's this myth in long-term relationships that staying is always the brave choice. That the strong ones hold on no matter what. That leaving is giving up. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes, leaving is the most courageous thing you can do. Because staying when you've been betrayed over and over, when your trust has been weaponized, when your dignity has been dragged through excuses and half-truths, that's not love. That's self-abandonment. And I had been abandoning myself for years. Every time I forgave her without conditions. Every time I swallowed my suspicion just to keep the peace. Every time I told myself, this is what marriage is, even when it didn't feel like it anymore. I chipped away at my own reflection. She wanted to try again. Of course she did. She called it a second reset. We could go to therapy again. Take a trip. Start fresh. She promised things would be different this time. But different how? What was left of us to rebuild? The foundation wasn't cracked anymore, it was dust. And what scared me most wasn't that she might hurt me again. It was that I might stay long enough to let her. We had one more talk, the last real one. We sat in the living room. Her on one end of the couch. Me on the other. Same setup as before. But this time, I wasn't there to listen. I was there to finish. She asked what it would take for me to give her another chance. I didn't answer right away. I wanted to choose my words carefully. Then I said, slowly. It would take me becoming someone I don't want to be. She blinked. Confused. I continued. It would take me ignoring what I know is true. Pretending I'm okay with what you did. Pretending I don't see the pattern. Pretending this version of us is still worth protecting. And I can't do that. She started to cry. Said she could change. And maybe she could. But it wasn't my job to wait around and see. People always ask, how could you leave after everything? But the better question is, how could I stay after everything? I didn't leave because I stopped loving her. I left because I finally started loving myself. That's the part no one talks about. That you can love someone with your whole heart and still realize they're not good for you. That they're not safe for you. That they might care, but they don't protect your peace. Your hope. Your dignity. And if they can't protect those things, they don't get to keep your love. The night I told her I wanted a separation, she said nothing. Just nodded. It was like watching a house collapse in slow motion. No explosions. Just the quiet creak of something giving up its last bit of strength. She moved out 2 weeks later. No dramatic goodbye. No final speech. She took her boxes. Her books. Her clothes. Her perfume. And she left my house. Left our house. Left me. And yet, somehow, it felt like I was the one finally free. The mirror again. A few days after she left, I stood in that same bathroom. Same mirror. But this time, I saw something different. Still tired. Still grieving. But, real. Present. Not a ghost of a man waiting for someone to choose him. Just a man who had finally chosen himself. Grief doesn't end like a movie. There's no swelling music. No final kiss in the rain. Just mornings that don't hurt as much as they used to. The first week alone was brutal. The kind of quiet that rings in your ears. I kept expecting to hear her keys at the door. Her laugh in the next room. Her toothbrush beside mine. But nothing. And after a while, nothing started to feel like peace. At first, the silence was unbearable. Then it became sacred. I started noticing things again. The way the sun hit the kitchen window in the morning. The sound of coffee brewing. The stillness of the house at night, not empty, but calm. I began reclaiming routines. Saturday mornings used to be about cleaning and errands and couples plans. Now I just threw on music and let the day unfold. Third eye blind still stung. But eventually, I let the music play again. Not because I forgave her, but because the band didn't deserve to be a casualty in her betrayal. When you leave someone who has shaped your days for years, you're left staring at your own reflection, unsure what's you and what was just part of the relationship. So I started exploring again. Small things. I cooked for myself, badly, at first. Went for long drives with no destination. Bought new bed sheets. Deleted our shared calendar. Got a journal. Started writing things I wasn't ready to say out loud. Sometimes I'd sit in the car outside the grocery store and just breathe. Not because I was overwhelmed, but because I could. Because no one was asking me to be less than what I was anymore. Some people pulled away when they heard about the separation. Others stepped up. My brother called more often. My coworker invited me to trivia night. My neighbor, who I'd barely spoken to before, brought over a six-pack and said, "Man, whatever you need, I'm around." It wasn't grand. But it mattered. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't covering for her. Or defending her. Or hiding my hurt. I was honest. And it turned out, being honest didn't push people away. It brought the right people closer. Grief is weird. It sneaks up when you least expect it. You'll be in the cereal aisle and see her favorite brand and feel like someone punched you in the chest. Or you'll see a couple laughing over coffee and hate them for 5 irrational seconds. But the same thing happens in reverse. You'll laugh at something dumb and realize it's the first time you've laughed in weeks. You'll catch your reflection in the mirror and think, "I look okay." You'll hear your own voice say, "I think I'm going to be all right." And mean it. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. I learned that slowly. Alone meant no one waiting for me at home. No texts to answer. No plans to make. Lonely meant forgetting who I was outside of her. But over time, the loneliness faded. And the aloneness. That turned into freedom. I read books I'd always meant to. Took longer showers. Slept in the middle of the bed. Learned how to be in a room with myself, and not wish I was someone else. I stopped chasing closure. And started chasing peace. Months after she left, I had one more dream about her. We were sitting at a table, just the two of us. There was no anger. No sadness. No pleading. She looked at me and said, "You look different." And I smiled. I am. It's been almost a year now. I'm not bitter. I'm not better, either. I'm becoming. Some nights are still hard. I still think of the version of our life that never came to be. I still miss the way it used to feel, even if it wasn't real in the end. But I don't miss her. Not really. Because the woman I miss doesn't exist anymore. And maybe she never did. What does exist is me, the man I forgot about for far too long. And he's learning. To trust again. To hope again. To feel again. And maybe, someday, to love again. But on his terms this time. With eyes wide open. With boundaries firm. With dignity intact.